Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today for 10 on Tech with Jackie Gorschlik. Her guest speaker today is Patrick O'Brien from LenderLogix. I'm Bill Kennedy from the New York MBA Education Committee, along with our committee chairperson, Elizabeth Cheney, our president, Jeff Pinard, and our executive director, Joe Culver. Before we get started on the session today, a few housekeeping notes. Please use the chat function to notify us of any technical issues you may have. During today's webinars, all lines are muted except for our presenters. Throughout the session, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions. Please use the chat to do so, and we will do our best to address as many as we can during the Q&A session at the end. We'll be sharing the presentation slides and relevant resources with you after the webinar. Stay connected with the New York MBA. Always stay connected with the New York MBA. We're on LinkedIn. Our website is nymba.org, and our YouTube channel is where we post recording of our webinars. And as always, we urge you to join the Mortgage Action Alliance. It's free, it's easy, and it's the way to stay informed on what's going on in our business. Couple of calendar items for you to keep track of. On June 4th, we will have Seizing the Opportunity in a Challenging Housing Market with Ron Vaimberg. He's going to provide insight and strategies for loan officers and lenders. On June 21st, we'll have an Affordable Friday session. Those are always great, with Sherry Eccles and Brian Garris, excuse me, and their guests. And then Jackie G will be back for her 10 on Tech regarding cybersecurity with Rika Herrera on June 25th. Keep in mind, registration for our convention in September is open now. You can please join and register for the convention. It'll be a great couple of days at the casino, and we hope to see you there. And speaking of Jackie G, Jackie Goralczyk, she is a partner and co-founder of DeAngelis and Goralczyk. Jackie helps clients navigate complex data privacy and cybersecurity regulatory requirements, and she has taught cybersecurity and data privacy at Albany Law. She is on the board of directors here at the New York MBA, and she's also serves on the board of the Northeast New York MBA. And she does it all very well. And Jackie, I'd like you to take it over, and you and Patrick share your intelligence with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. I really loved the first pronunciation of my last name, and I feel like we've got 7 more months of 10 on Tech, with this being the very first inaugural episode. So I can imagine what it's going to sound like in December. So I'm really excited to introduce Patrick O'Brien today. Patrick is a former loan officer turned tech founder. Patrick understands the wants, needs, and pain points of today's loan officers and mortgage lenders. He co-founded LenderLogix, which I think we're all familiar with, to provide loan officers and lenders the tools they need to provide a digital-first borrower experience with hefty implementation times and without hefty implementation times, investments, or upkeep. Patrick, do you want to give us a little insight onto LenderLogix?
Sure. Yeah, I just one comment first. I like how he just went to Jackie G right away, though. You know what I mean?
I don't blame him.
No, that was good. Yeah. We started the company back in 2015. We looked around at the mortgage tech landscape and just felt loan officers needed better tools, and borrowers deserved better experiences. So we've served to fill that gap for the last I guess 9 years now. And yeah, we're always innovating and just trying to build a better mousetrap for loan officers, borrowers, and realtors alike.
That's awesome. You guys definitely have your hands full right now with everything that's going on in the tech, cyber, AI world. So I'm excited to see, what comes from that in the next few years. So the point of today's session, the point of 10 on Tech, is basically rapid or potentially not so rapid fire questions for our guests to talk about what's going on with cybersecurity, tech, AI in the mortgage world. And then if people have questions, they can enter their questions in the chat or follow up with the presenter later. So we will get started right away. And then Patrick, as I said, there's also 2 2 bonus questions in here, and there is a right and wrong answer to each one, so be ready.
Do you have like a gong or something to shut me up if I'm talking too long? I'm,
Oh,
like,
no,
getting
but
off?
I'll get one going forward. You can
Yeah,
come
we
back in
just-
December and I'll have a gong by then.
yeah, maybe we
Um,
can like sponsor the gong or something like that.
I would love that.
Okay.
All right, question 1. How is technology continuing to improve the home buying experience for consumers?
I think, an interesting thing that's happened in the last few years is putting more power and knowledge and transparency in the hands of consumers. For a very long time, um, you know, uh, maybe like gatekeeper isn't the right word, but there kind of wasn't a democracy of information. In order to really understand what you were doing as a home buyer, you really kind of had to like a loan officer needed to be there all the time to kind of give you the information. You sort of relied on them, and technology has helped kind of illuminate and make that process more transparent to consumers, because ultimately consumers having more knowledge and just a better understanding of the transaction that they're undergoing ultimately helps our industry. So if consumers are, you think about consumers, the losing bids on houses and things like that. These are oftentimes that happens when you don't have a confident buyer. The buyer is confused. They don't know maybe what their payment's going to be or something like that. So more of that transparency that we can put in the hands of consumers, and oftentimes technology is the conduit for that. I think just provides just a more healthy housing finance ecosystem.
Awesome. Next slide. Question 2. With companies like Rocket and Zillow reshaping the landscape, what strategies should traditional lenders adopt to remain competitive? And I think this goes back to what you just said, as far as consumers having so much information at their fingertips. So how do traditional lenders compete with all of that information provided by these companies?
Yeah, what's one interesting thing is like Rocket and Zillow being publicly traded companies, like they they have to provide and disclose so much of what they're doing. They have earnings calls and quarterly releases and annual reports and things like that. And for a long time, I think in the industry, a lot of people kind of carved out, the traditional lenders, banks and independent mortgage banks kind of carved out things and just said, that's the online mortgage, and we're not, that's not us. We provide service, and that'll kind of just be the not the consumers won't want that. Consumers won't want to do that type of do a loan like that online. And what you look at Rocket, and it's just like they're always at a minimum one of the top retail lenders in the US, sometimes by far. And they're kind of showing, I think people should pay attention to what they're doing instead of kind of building this wall and saying like, well, that's not what, we're not going to do business that way. Consumers want to do business that way. So I think, paying attention to what Rocket and Zillow are doing from a customer acquisition standpoint, from just overall borrower experience throughout the transaction, pay attention to that. They're attracting customers, and they're providing things that consumers want. So while most people in the industry are competing with them, at the same time, paying attention to what they're doing and learning some lessons about how they're building their business are certainly things that we advise our clients to kind of pay attention to. That take some things away, understand what they're doing. Yes, they're a competitor, but success leaves clues, and they're obviously being successful. So adopting many of the strategies that they're undertaking, and they're also being very public about pay attention to those things.
I think that's an amazing point. And I mean, we run into the same thing in the legal landscape, is that there is an aversion maybe to going in the direction of what we see others doing. And, you know, for instance, we're seeing that in AI right now. Is more traditional law firms are like, we're never going to use it. I use AI every single day.
Mhm.
And we're going to have to embrace this stuff and move it forward and figure out how to use it well.
Yeah, for sure.
Next slide. What do you think is the most significant technical advancement in the mortgage industry over the past 5 years? It's a good one.
You know, if I got into business in 2002, I think it was, and there was kind of this like shift in technology to the loan origination system and lenders taking things, you know, in a more automated direction. And you saw maybe for, you know, I don't know, 15 years or something like that, really lenders kind of lean into that loan origination ecosystem. And, you know, you didn't take paper applications anymore, and you filled everything out within the loan origination system, and it handled docs. And, you know, you saw those giant paper files like disappear towards electronic, everything being done electronically. In the last 5 years, something interesting has happened, in that like the loan origination technology that we all got used to was for us on the inside. It was for loan officers, it was for underwriters, it was for the lender to interact with. But there really wasn't anything on the consumer side, like what was facing the consumer, or what was there really was not great. In the last 5 years, you've really seen a push towards consumer facing technology. And I think that's the result of people, you know, interacting with Amazon, and, you know, just companies like Spotify, and consumers are used to this, have become used to this digital experience. And I think in the last 5 years, you've really seen a push towards lenders adopting that and starting to care about, like, okay, what's my consumer's digital experience? For the first, you know, for the last 20 years, we were focused on what our digital experience is on the inside and making us more efficient as lenders. But I think there's been really significant movement in what the borrower is experiencing, and making sure that our borrowers are getting the digital experience that they expect, receiving text messages, you know, receiving text message updates when things happen, being able to do more things from their phone. I think that's really like a seismic shift, and putting more of that power in the hand of the consumer, and letting the consumer do things because they've been trained to do it. They've been using other technologies, like I said, Amazon, and you know, they're used to it. I'm, you know, back in the day, you've never think that like, oh, people won't buy things online because like they don't want to put in their credit card numbers. And now it's like, I don't even know my credit card number. I'm like, Amazon, you hold on to my credit card numbers, and then like you tell me which one I should use. Like, let me pick one when I want to buy something. So like consumers have really like made this shift, and I think the mortgage industry is starting to catch up with that, you know, to deliver experiences in a similar way.
And my husband will not appreciate this, but I feel like if you're saying Amazon is getting us ready for the future, I am ready. I am like, I'm ahead of the curve. I agree with you about just the change in the dynamic with the consumer. And, you know, unfortunately on the closing end, we're still a little bit behind the 8 ball,
Mhm.
you know, particularly in New York. So it's funny to now interact with people who have had that digital experience throughout the process, who really are excited about it and love it. And then they're like, oh, I really still have to come to the closing table. Like, you know, they're disappointed at that piece. So it's been interesting to see that shift. You know, and hopefully we're going to keep up with it soon, but
Yeah,
we're still seeing faces at this point.
yeah, like it's like the consumer can't be stopped, right? So if
Yeah,
if that's what the consumer wants, ultimately, you know, the technology will fill that void at some point.
yeah, agree. Next slide. what are the cybersecurity risks associated with the increasing role of technology in mortgage, and how can they be mitigated?
I mean, you're probably, I'm interested in your thoughts on this, but, obviously as we increase the amount of technology that both we, the folks on the inside of the institution might be dealing with, and then the consumers on the outside of the institution, like you're increasing kind of that attack vector. And, I think the industry has been very good about making sure that any technology has its house in order. I mean, the vendor management protocols within our industry are incredibly strong, and this just rolling out any technology with a financial institution just requires super in-depth, robust policies and procedures and penetration tests and SOC reports and things like that. My own, what we've traditionally seen is the weak points are oftentimes not with the technology, but how the user might be interacting with the technology. So in terms of how things can be mitigated, it's probably not, some sophisticated hack that's happening in a database or something like that. It's usually that somebody gave a password or a two-factor authentication code to somebody who they shouldn't have. So in terms of mitigating those concerns, like the things that we traditionally see is more on, the training and getting everybody in the institution to look at themselves as being part of the info security team and understanding that it's not somebody else's problem, but it's their problem. Everybody within the institution, it's their problem. It's their mission to make sure that they're kind of preserving that culture of info security versus just saying like, oh, it's on, the technology and to somebody else's problem to handle. Because again, the weak link that we traditionally see is usually the human element.
100% agree with you. I think that, just what we're seeing over the last 3 or 4 years, we can have the greatest technology in place, and we can have, all of the things running and working. And like you said, your house is in order, but there's a lack of education, a lack of training, a lack of user engagement and management. And I think that that's where we need to get better, is with helping our people out, because like you said, it's not necessarily, some rocket science hack that we have going on. They called the help center and, gave out credentials or whatever the case is. So I totally agree. It's the people that we have to really look at and get trained really well. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
There's this meme that is like this picture of like a kid building this intricate like castle of blocks, and the meme is like multi-million-dollar info security program, and then there's this other little kid about to pull a block out from the bottom that's like loan officer emailing a W2, borrower emailing a W2. So it's like that, we have these super robust cybersecurity programs in place, and oftentimes it's that, that weak link is being somebody just doing something like that, an individual, making an uninformed decision about how they should be, kind of handling NPI or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that you nailed it as far as culture, is that everybody has to think of themselves as part of the InfoSec team, part of the security team. There's nobody that is not responsible for it at this point. And, even looking back at the Target hack from, however many years ago, because everybody knows about Target. If we look at that, it was an outsourced contractor that didn't have credentials set up correctly. And it's not, it's not malicious. It's not anything. It's just protocol were not followed, and they weren't enforced. And people don't necessarily think that they have a place to play in there, but everybody has a part to play in it.
100%.
Next question. How can mortgage companies effectively integrate new technologies? This is a good one, because we see this in every facet, not just mortgage companies. How can they effectively integrate technologies without disrupting their current operations?
I think one of the reasons why um, loan origination technology and like LOS systems are so valuable is because that is really hard to rip and replace. I mean, um, if you have a loan origination system in place at a financial institution, to change that out is just a huge ordeal. I was involved in something like that in my previous role. And that just becomes ugly. So one of the beautiful things that's happened over the last, I don't know, 5 or 10 years is those loan origination systems have started to, kind of accept or just like value that, like, you know what, like, we're not going to be good at everything. Like, just because we're a good loan origination system doesn't mean that we're going to nail consumer experience or the closing experience or something like that. So, the loan origination systems have done a very good job. For as much as people like hate them, like, oh, I hate my loan origination system, it's like, no, these things are beautiful and they're powerful, and it's an amazing backbone for your company. The issue you see is that they're asking their loan origination system to do too much, when in fact it does an amazing job of what it's supposed to do. And they've provided sort of the plumbing in order to bring in other components into their loan origination process in order to really build that kind of bespoke consumer experience. So it's really, I think, like leveraging, not just throwing your hands up and being like, oh, my loan origination system is terrible. It's like, no, that you're just asking it to do things that it's not supposed to do. So you're able, they've provided this beautiful infrastructure where companies can come in and sort of bring these components into your lending process, that are easy. And just kind of another point to that is, like, everything nowadays is like software as a service. Like, you're able to bring in new technology, test it out. Like, it's easy to do. It's not, you don't need kind of like on-prem software installations and servers and all this other kind of stuff. Like, I mean, I'll use like Encompass as an example. Like, if you're using ICE Mortgage Technology Encompass, like, you're able to just like do so many things and bring in so many different components and figure out if it's good for your business or not. And you can really kind of reimagine your lending experience doing things like that versus being like, oh, I just need to get a new loan origination system.
And that's where you guys come in, right, Patrick? I mean, as far as kind of building on those existing loan systems. And then, one of the things that you mentioned in the beginning was that people have to look at what other organizations are doing, and, banks and brokers and such are doing, and figure out how to do it themselves. And I think that's one of the things that potentially can set them apart in the future, is having that bespoke system. So you have the building blocks and then building that to have yourself stand out.
Yeah, and it's not one size fits all. It's what's the type of operation do you want to run? Like, what are the things you care about? If you're in retail originations and you care about kind of like the realtor experience, like that's a different experience maybe than a lender that's saying, I'm a consumer direct shop. I don't really care about building relationships with realtors. I ingest leads from online sources. Like, those are two very different things. And,
Right.
Technology companies can sit there and say, like, okay, well, we can serve you in this area of your business. So, we love the fact that there's a lot of people out there, maybe like us, that are able to build those different technologies, and that a lender is able to pick and choose and say, no, this is the type of business I want to run, and I'm going to bring in those components to be able to do that just don't require ripping and replacing your loan origination system. It's like you could literally spin up a consumer direct division with its own kind of experience, quickly and easily, using those components without, a years long process of having to kind of like reimagine your entire tech stack.
Yeah, that makes sense. Next slide. Mystery question.
Oh boy,
Patrick, you are in Buffalo right now, right?
I am.
What is the best wing?
Oh, this is I'm
There's a right
prepared
and
for
wrong.
this. I'm prepared for this.
All right.
I'm prepared for this. And I don't know, you might disagree with me on this, but if you look at me, I'm highly qualified to give feedback on chicken wings. And there has been a new entrance in the wing space in Western New York. I've been public about this, and Wing Nuts is the best chicken wing in Western New York right now. I don't know, like I said, you might need that gong if you want to shut me up about chicken wings, but if you haven't had Wing Nuts, you got to get after it.
All right. I'm in Buffalo once a month, so I'm going to try it as a courtesy. I think it's the wrong answer. I think the right answer is barbell, but I'm going to try it and we'll circle back.
Love barbell. Love barbell. Okay. I love barbell.
All right.
But Wing Nuts is just maybe just a slight cut above.
We'll see. Next question. Oh, and is it true, Bill Kennedy, we only have 3 minutes? Did we only make
Oh.
5 questions? Are we 5 on tech?
So you needed the gong.
I did need the gong. Let's do this one anyway. What role do you see artificial intelligence playing in the future of mortgage originations?
A lot.
Excellent.
I mean, I mean, the power of AI is just, I mean, if you haven't been exposed to it, is, there's, I think it's going to revolutionize things. So I think the important thing is like making sure that you're aware of what's going on in that space and harnessing it appropriately. But I think it'll drive down cost. I think it'll increase, we'll be able to do a lot more with less. It'll move things faster. So I think you should be keeping your eye on AI.
I totally agree. I think if you're not keeping an eye on AI, then it's not a great future. I think that you have to, that's where we're headed, and you've got to embrace it. Let's squeeze in one more, because I think this one, next one, Liz. We kind of touched on that. It's important to adapt to new technologies. Next one. All right. Should loan officers be concerned that AI could be a threat to their job?
Kind of no, not really. There's like this saying out there. I don't know who came up with it, but people won't be replaced by AI, but people who use AI will replace people that don't use AI. And I think that's true for loan officers. A loan officer with utilizing technology in general, but AI specifically, it's like a superpower.
Yeah.
It's like it's just like makes you this like super efficient, just fire throwing, awesome loan officer. And if you're not going to adopt those types of tools, you're going to be behind the 8 ball versus the loan officers that do. So, I think by and large, like loan officers can be way more efficient. They can do way more loans, make more money, provide better experiences with AI. But it means you have to embrace it versus, pretending like it doesn't exist.
I agree. And it's, as I said before, it's the same thing with attorneys. I don't think that AI is going to replace attorneys, but I think that those of us who are using it are hopefully going to have, a little step up in the future. And I think that the right thing right now for loan officers would probably be to be reaching out, seeing what's available, seeing how they can use it effectively. From the legal and regulatory standpoint, I'm worried about governance. So I'm working with people trying to figure out how are we going to govern it? What are we going to use it for? Obviously, there's a lot of concerns wrapped up in, is it going to be fair? Is it going to be just? We have to worry about those things. But I think now is the time to start looking at it and moving forward toward that space.
Yeah, I think like it's not going to be loan officers just dumping a bunch of data into ChatGPT, and
right.
It's technology companies will weave it into their you know, their workflow, to make the technology better. And I think ultimately it's just like, stay up on tech, like stay at the front of the curve. You know, in whether it, you know, what advancements come from that, you know, you'll be first to take advantage of instead of, you know, instead of trying to catch up later.
Agree. All right, so we hit the 30-minute mark. We're gonna bring Patrick back with a gong in the future so that we can actually get all 10 on tech. So I'll turn it over to our leadership to finish this up.
The really good stuff, guys. You know, like the level of detail that you provided here, Patrick, you know, very insightful. And you're right, Jackie, I don't know. I think we may need to make 10 on tech an hour long, right? Just
Might have
so
to
we
be.
have we have the ability to keep going and, you know, certainly have you guys give a little bit deeper information in some cases. But, you know, thank you very much for sharing the information that you did. Thank you for giving us 2 new meanings of the word wing nuts and barbells, right? So thinking about it from that perspective, anybody that goes to Buffalo, you've got the challenge now. You know, you have to go to 2 places and then fire off an email to either Patrick or Jackie and say, yes, I agree with you, or disagree. So pretty
I look
cool
forward
stuff.
to it.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Thanks, Jackie. And Patrick, especially as well, we appreciate it. We encourage, you know, any of our attendees and members also to reach out directly with additional questions if you want to know more about the answers that Patrick gave, or certainly about Patrick and his company and his business. That's what we certainly encourage everyone to do as well, is work with our member companies, work with our guests and presenters here. And you know, certainly we're all in this business together, trying to certainly advance the best that we can, you know, keeping up with the Rocket Mortgage, as you said, you know, where a lot of us are still in that kind of firecracker space. So we've got a lot of room to grow and learn more about all these different pieces. So thank you both very, very much for that. For our attendees, again, give us a couple of days and then you can go out to our YouTube page, as you saw there. You can just type in New York Mortgage Bankers Association. You will see this and then other webinars that we've had as well, so that you can go back and refer to information. Please share it with anybody else in your company. You know, let them click on and listen to the information as well. Very, very informative. So thank you very much again, Patrick. Jackie, thank you. Next month we do it again and look forward to that. And we wish everybody a great day.